really can't blame you if you think I'm a monster or evil. I'd probably feel the same way if it was to happen to me.
As far as I can see, there's nothing else. She hasn't got the seatbelt burns, no sign of whiplash. So, we'll just wait for the examination.
She seems very quiet.
She's very quiet indeed. I mean, I don't know if that's just her or, you know.
Mr. Watson?
Yeah?
Please.
There'll be a police surgeon along to see you soon, Sarah. Is there someone we can contact?
Well, what kind of accident? How is she? What's happened?
She's not badly hurt. She's in hospital, but she'll be all right.
God, what happened? Are you okay? Sarah? What?
I've been raped.
Sarah, could you just press on that for me with your other hand? So we've got all the samples that we need now. But don't forget what we discussed earlier, that you must make an appointment to talk to them about having an HIV test done.
Over the last 10 years or so, the police have developed a much more sensitive and understanding attitude towards women who have suffered rape. And as a result, more people have had the courage and the confidence to report what's happened to them. Police often now forge quite close long-term relationships with victims of crime and with offenders. 2 years ago, on Crimewatch, we appealed for viewers' help to find a man who had raped a woman in Stevenage, and it later transpired 2 others in Luton. In the course of their inquiry, police officers took on the role of counsellors as much as investigators, working closely with the people who'd been affected by the crimes. All 3 women who were victims of the attacks have welcomed tonight's programme in the hope that others may feel encouraged to contact the police. This film, using actors and the investigating officers themselves, tells their story.
You will stay, won't you?
Of course I will. I'm not going to leave you on your own tonight.
No, I mean, you'll stay. You won't leave me after this.
Sarah, come on. I'm not going to
No,
leave you.
don't. I need to know.
Jesus, you've been raped. You're talking as if you've had an affair or something. I'm hardly going to leave you just because you've
I might have AIDS. I could smell glue. I think he was a glue sniffer. The police said he was probably on drugs. He might be HIV positive. God, I might get AIDS.
Come here.
Hello, Stevenage CID.
As the investigating officer, the first decision I have to make is to decide who should interview the victim. I've got to be sure that the interviewing officer is going to have the patience and sensitivity to spend a lot of time with someone who's been through a terrible ordeal.
When you're going to talk about something like a rape that involves a lot of very intimate details, it's important just to make her feel at ease with some of the questions that you might be asking her. So I explained to Sarah the type of questions that I'd be asking, and asked her whether she would be happy to talk to me alone.
I want him to stay. I want Mark with me.
Well, I wouldn't advise that. It's not what we normally do.
Why not?
Well, it can be difficult when
For
you
who?
start to...
Who's it going to be difficult for? It might not be normal, but I don't feel very normal at the moment.
Well, I understand that. I do understand that.
I want him to hear it. I was bloody scared last night. I was alone, and I don't want to go through it again on my own. If Mark's here, then... well, it's out in the open. I think that'll help. I need him. I'm gonna need him.
I was initially reluctant to have Mark present during the course of the interviews because I didn't know how he was going to react to some of the questions that I'd be putting to Sarah. In that, obviously, we're talking about a very traumatic experience for her, and I was a little bit concerned that she may be reluctant to tell me about all the intimacies in his presence.
I left work a bit later than usual. I go to the gym on Tuesday, so I was rushing a bit. I hate being late. The journey takes about half an hour. The train got into Stevenage just after 6.
You work in London, then?
Yeah, I'm a legal secretary in a firm of solicitors. I parked the car about a quarter of a mile from the station. It cost the earth to park any closer. Went over the footbridge, down through the leisure centre and into the town centre.
Did you notice anything unusual?
No, nothing. There was hardly anyone around. I went down the underpass steps leading to the gardens. Oh, there was a woman struggling a bit with some shopping. And then I was almost at the car. God, I was so close to the car.
Ow!
Give me a bag!
Okay, take it! Can I just have my keys? I just need my keys.
What keys? Where are they?
They're in the middle, there's a zip.
Where's your car?
What?
Don't piss about. Where is it?
It's on the road, just at the top of the path.
I've got a knife. Show me.
Which car? It's the Cavalier. I mean Chevette, the yellow Chevette.
Don't mess me around.
I'm not, this is it.
Get in.
Where are we going?
London. I want to go to London.
It's an old car, it's not very reliable.
That was true, but he just ignored me and told me to head for the motorway. Then I smelt the glue. It was awful, it was really strong. I thought he might have been high from sniffing. I think it was making him nervous. Not at first, anyway. Then he changed.
Give me your jewellery. I want your jewellery.
It's technically called a cognitive interview. It can be very traumatic, but it is a style of interviewing which puts a person back in the situation that they've been in and asks them to relive what's taken place. And so you don't actually have to ask very many questions. You do act as counsellor because you live that experience with her in order that she can give you all the information that you need.
Hurt you, have I? Just do as you're told, you'll be okay. Where's your money? You must have some money.
There's about £10 in there. That's all I've got without going to the machine.
How much can I get out in your card? How much?
£100. I think it's 100. I kept telling myself to stay calm. You know, it'll all be over soon and he'll get out. And then he went into the car park.
It's no good. Drive on, stop the car.
I knew it was cash he wanted. I was thinking, please let him get out of the car, use the machine, and I could run and shout for help. We drove on. I was looking out for other cash machines. I thought he was. But then I noticed he'd calmed down. He was less edgy, not as nervous. And then I realised he was directing me away from the town, off of the main roads. I knew we wouldn't find cash there, but I thought he was lost, and that's why we were out there. But then he was saying, left here, now right, as if he knew what he wanted. And then he told me to drive off of the main road into this farm lane. It wasn't much wider than the car. It was dark and isolated.
Turn it off. Turn out the lights.
And then I realised.
Turn out the lights.
It was so So clinical. So aggressive. I just complied with everything. Everything he said. I had to. I had no control. No. There's no sense of control. It's like this person... You can't believe what they're doing to you. To me. To me. And it really is like a nightmare. But it's happening. 'Cause he's there and I'm there. Shit, I was scared.
I hadn't been in a situation where I had interviewed somebody alleging a rape in the presence of their partner. So it was all a bit of a learning process as we went along. As it turned out, he helped her immensely, there's no doubt about it. He made her feel completely relaxed, and obviously it made the process of questioning a much swifter process, if you like.
I think that having someone with you that you're close to is really important. It was the only way I was going to do it. I never imagined that they wouldn't want Mark to be with me. At least this way, everything was out in the open. It meant there would be no skeletons in the cupboard, and it was something we could come to terms with together. Kind of go the same route. He's going to kill me, that's all I could think. He's raped me and now he's going to kill me. I was so scared. I kept thinking, now, go on, now, do it. But I couldn't. Then I saw the garage.
Jesus, what are you doing?
It was the keys. If only I'd not asked for the keys when he grabbed me, he'd have run off. He'd have just run off.
Sarah, nothing excuses what he's done to you. Nothing at all.
By now, Sarah had been able to give us a very detailed account of what had happened. And from our inquiries, we'd been able to corroborate a story from eyewitness accounts and other evidence we recovered from the scene of the crash.
Can you tell me about the face shape? And see if any of these words would describe the shape of this chap's face.
But of course the thing we really lacked was a description of the offender's face. We needed to see if Sarah could give us what would be literally a picture of her attacker. Could she recall enough detail for us to build a computer image of his face?
Angular.
Now the length of the face, would it be long, average or short?
Average.
Okay, can you now think about the hair? The length of his hair. Was it very long, collar length, short, very short?
Collar length. I did have some kind of image of him in my mind, but trying to portray that to somebody else and then to get them to interpret what you're saying is very difficult. Tidy. It was really frustrating, you know, not being able to communicate the picture I had in my mind. Yeah, that's the most like it.
Towels here, 50p each, 3 for a pound. Can't get your towels here, girls. Any 3 you want, 50p.
Sometimes you find there's a breakthrough in a case when you're least expecting it. Sarah was out shopping with Mark when she had what was probably her worst experience since the rape.
3 for a pound, any colours you want. We're just taking it last. 50p each, 3 for a pound. Come and get your towels, girls. 50p each, 3 for a pound. Come on.
Mark, it's him.
50p, 3 for a pound.
Where were you on the night of December the 2nd?
I can't remember, that was 2 weeks ago.
Well, think about it, it's very important.
Look, I've packed the stall up, I'll move on, OK?
Forget about your stall, Henry. We're investigating a rape here.
What? God, what's this about? Is this some kind of joke?
What I was most scared of was in case they was fitting me up. It was just more scary in case, like, the woman was going to say it was me. And then, what could I do? Because I didn't know what I'd done. I never had an alibi at the time. it was rape. And all I kept thinking is 10 year, 10 year. I didn't know the woman, she didn't know me, and like, I thought that she could be someone that, like I just say, yes, that's him.
Sarah soon realised that he wasn't her attacker, and we were happy that he was in the clear. But with him looking similar to the offender, Sarah was now able to use a computer image of his face to produce a clearer photo fit of the rapist.
Less chin, it wasn't... kind of a smaller chin, not as round.
More of an angle?
Yeah, yeah. Can you make the... you know, the top lip? It was like, that was more angled, not... more angled to his nose, not kind of so straight. Yeah, like that.
Give me a bag! Can I just have my keys?
Turn on the lights.
Please don't do this to me. Yeah, that's it.
What am I supposed to have done?
We brought in a number of different suspects. They were people with convictions for drug abuse, muggings, or sexual offences.
I was out.
Well, where?
At the opera. I was down the pub with me mates.
Well, can you tell me who they are?
Look, what am I meant to have done?
Well, we're talking about a very serious offence.
Yeah? Well, why don't you do a bit less talking and get out there and find out who did it? Because you're not looking at him now.
No?
No.
None of those interviewed matched the computer photo fit we'd got, and we had to eliminate over 100 suspects. So after 2 weeks we were beginning to get a bit frustrated, and of course there was always the worry that he might strike again.
Got a knife. Keep quiet or I'll kill you.
Fiona lived in Luton, only 20 miles away from Sarah, but across the county border in Bedfordshire. At this stage, the two separate police forces didn't link the attacks.
And then he started rummaging through my bag. I could hear him opening and closing the purse. He asked me if I got any credit cards, and I said no. And then he said, well, where's your keys? And I said I must have dropped them. So he went downstairs, said not to move, he'd be back. And I tried to think clearly. I was listening out for him for 2 or 3 minutes. Felt like an eternity. I couldn't hear him, so I got up and went to the door. I went towards the stairs. I couldn't see anything, I was just listening. I shouted down, "Are you still there?" It was quiet, so I went back into the bedroom and picked up the phone. He'd knocked it off the dressing table. And I was shaking so much I couldn't remember my boyfriend's number. So I got my diary out and called him. I still can't believe it. Can't believe what's happened.
I think we'll stop there and give you a break. We've moved on quite a lot in the police force in the way that we deal with rape victims. They need to know that someone's going to listen to them, and the fact that we need to interview them without feeling as if that they are the offender, because I think often that is a lot of the complaints that we've had in the past, is that they felt that they are being accused of a crime instead of the fact that they've actually been the injured party.
By now we had a number of items which we hoped would help us trace the offender. We had, for example, an identical rucksack, a handbag identical to Sarah's, identical jewellery to which Sarah had stolen. One of the things we couldn't get was the sweatshirt. Sarah had described it as a grey sweatshirt with a black band, but we couldn't find one from any of the local shops. And while we were preoccupied with trying to track down the sweatshirt and with pushing the investigation on, we became aware of how easy it is sometimes to overlook the needs of the victim.
Sarah, we've managed to find one. Paul, PC Brogden, he's got a cousin who's a fashion designer in Ireland. He said he could get an identical sweatshirt made up.
Can you get the car moved, please? I'm beginning to hate seeing it every time I'm here. You know, it's quite hard. It's like a reminder of... Can it be moved, please?
Sure, we'll move it. I think there were some areas of frustration for Sarah because her needs were moving at a much slower pace than the investigation. Obviously, we're trying to achieve a lot of things very quickly. So, whilst I'm at the police station, I might be moving as quickly as the investigation is, but when I go and see her, then I have to slow down and consider her needs.
We've eliminated everyone that we've brought in so far.
One of the things that can be difficult is that you're aware there's a lot of activity going on around you. You know, everyone's busy trying to find the offender, but sometimes you feel on the fringe a bit, and it's frustrating because you're answering a lot of questions and you're aware that everyone's doing what they can, but well, there's no result coming from it.
After 2 or 3 weeks, the members of the team were getting frustrated. It began to look less and less likely it was a local offender. We wanted as much publicity as possible, so obviously the best coverage was national TV.
Where's your money? Gotta have some money.
There's £10 in there. That's all I've got without going to the machine.
Oh, sorry, we're going to have to go again. The thing is, Portia, it was at this point when Sarah was looking around as much as she could, trying to attract somebody's attention.
OK, so what you mean?
Take 2.
Action.
There's £10 in there.
I think we should cut about here, Martin, to the shot of the car when it's passing the office block.
OK.
The process of making a Crimewatch reconstruction, filming, editing and adding commentary, takes nearly 4 weeks.
OK, Sue, stand by for your next cue.
I've got to be somewhere tonight.
Perhaps he wanted her to drop him at a particular place where he'd arranged to meet someone. She found herself driving through Chingford and then out onto the main road towards Epping Forest.
Scared us to how
Bit long, isn't it?
Yeah, it's clashing with the dialogue.
I think we could start it a bit earlier, but all the same, it's still going to be too long. I could cut and then... I could just say, and then into Epping Forest, because we know it's a main road.
Yep, OK, stand by.
Hello, ambulance, is anybody there?
Here, Julie.
Oh, what's your name? Karen. OK, Karen.
It's the ambulance. Are you all
I'll give you some oxygen.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you tell me your name?
A week before the Crimewatch programme was broadcast, a third attack. 16-year-old Karen was raped and stabbed at her home in Luton, while her mother slept after a night of heavy drinking.
Come on, try and wake up for me, love.
There's been a rape. It's up Stopsley. It's a young 16-year-old girl called Karen Woods.
What's happened? Where are they taking her?
They've taken her up to the Luton and Dunstable Hospital. She's got multiple stab wounds. Could be an attempt murder.
I had no idea, love. How could I have known he'd do something like this? He always seemed so reasonable.
I did blame your mum at first. I was just thinking, why? Why did you ask him to the house? Why didn't you wake up? Why couldn't you stop him? It took a while before I realised it wasn't their fault.
Look at me.
Karen had been stabbed 4 times. So serious were her injuries that doctors said she was lucky to survive.
She said she couldn't wake me.
All that matters now is that we find the man who did this to your daughter. His name, can you tell us?
I don't know his surname. I just know him as Tony. Sounds silly.
Karen's mother had spent the evening drinking with the man she knew as Tony in a local pub. At closing time, she'd invited him home.
Yes, Snow. His name's Tony Snow. The landlord thinks he might be staying in a hostel. Can you check that out? He's got a girlfriend from Essex, Lorraine. Don't have a surname. She might work in a burger bar or cafe.
Well, it's a bit rough, but he won't do anything like that.
You still haven't got it, Lorraine, have you? A girl's asleep in bed. She wakes to find your Tony.
He's not my Tony.
She wakes to find him on top of her. He's got a knife to
Bedfordshire police now knew they were looking for Tony Snow. The search began with his girlfriend.
What if it had been you, Lorraine?
I don't know where he is, and I don't know what he's doing. I don't really know him. He came and he went. He pleased himself when we were together. Never mind now.
If he rings, if you hear anything at all, you call me,
okay.
right? Before something like this is used again.
Run VT1. Title's running.
Marriage breakup. Here on BBC One, Nick Ross and Sue Cook once again ask for your help in Crimewatch UK.
Okay, we're on air.
Hertfordshire police investigating the attack on Sarah still had little to go on. As their appeal for help went out on Crimewatch, still no link had been made between Sarah's case and the two subsequent attacks in Luton.
We were at that time talking to Luton officers who were dealing with a couple of attempted abductions, but the officers that were dealing with the two rapes in Luton hadn't put two and two together, so we weren't informed.
You can't say that every rape can be linked. It would be looked at, because it's a serious crime, but you wouldn't necessarily link it with another rape and another force.
There is certainly a problem in the way we communicate with each other about offences committed across different police forces. I was surprised when I went on Crimewatch to see just how many police officers use the programme to contact each other about crimes in their own area. We need to improve our system, then we wouldn't need to rely so much on Crimewatch.
I've got to be somewhere tonight.
She found herself driving through Chingford and then out into Epping Forest.
On the night that Crimewatch went out, a social worker who'd previously counselled Snow faced what I know is quite a common dilemma.
You abducted and raped her. You've got to. If you're sure it's him, you've got no choice.
I can't, Mike. He was my client. Counselling is always done with an explicit promise of confidentiality. If I
And that
break
includes
that...
a rapist, does it?
If I break that confidence, it undermines everything we do. It makes...
this. What about this woman? What about her confidence? You don't think that's been undermined a bit?
I'm going to call Bob.
Oh, for Christ's sake, Sheila. If in doubt, call the talking textbook.
He's my boss.
He'll just give you another lecture about the maintenance of client relationships. What about this woman's relationship? She was raped, Sheila. She might have been killed.
I know that. But what I do depends on clients trusting me. I can't be obligated to the police without losing that trust.
Well, what about your obligation to his next victim? The next woman to have her security shattered?
That's not fair, Mike. It's not that simple.
All right. Right. Well, then, what's to stop the next one, the next scared victim, being somebody a bit closer to home?
She's been coping very well. It was a terrible ordeal. She's been able to help us throughout all our investigations and, of course, was able to help you in your reconstruction.
Despite her misgivings, the social worker did ring us and gave us the name of Tony Snow.
Yes, he's a man of between 19 and 25 years old, about 5 foot 8 inches tall. He had mousy-coloured, collar-length hair with centre parting. He was wearing a slate grey sweatshirt with a dark or black band around the middle.
It was about a week after he raped me. I wasn't really watching, and then I realised it sounded like him.
Mum?
I couldn't believe it.
Mum?
Yes, he ran down Goldings Hill and some half...
Karen didn't feel sure enough to contact Crimewatch or the police.
It's me.
Tony, you shouldn't ring me here. Where are you?
I need to talk, Lorraine.
I can't, not here.
I've got to see you. They're on to me, Lorraine.
Oh, deep shit, Tony. What have you done?
What do you mean?
God, Tony, have you tried to kill someone?
I never.
Tony, I know. The police, they've been round. They said that you might have killed someone.
I didn't, Lorraine. I never meant to kill her. I never... I wouldn't do that, Lorraine.
Talk to them. Tell them what you've done. They'll find you anyway. Tony.
It does appear that the pressure put on Snow's girlfriend paid off, because the day after Crimewatch, Tony walked straight into a police station.
I need to see someone.
Just a minute, please.
I think Luton police are looking for me.
Mm-hmm.
For rape.
I pleaded with him saying, please, no. He said, I won't hurt you. Do as you're told and I won't hurt you. I said to him again, please don't do this to me. He then said, turn it off, turn out the lights. With that, he moved his arm around my shoulders and locked the car door. She was frightened, Tony. You terrified her. You abducted and raped her. She was so scared she thought you were going to kill her. Perhaps you were.
If she said I raped her, then I must have done, but I don't remember.
But you remember walking into Harpenden Nick and telling a police officer that you're wanted for a rape?
Yeah.
A rape that you've admitted to. Clearly something you're capable of.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you remember that the woman's name began with an S and ended with an A, something like Sandra. That's very specific, Tony. Very detailed. But you can't remember anything about the rape.
No, I can't. I get stoned, right? I get pissed and I sniff and I black out. I don't know what I'm doing. It's all a blur.
Such a blur that when she crashed the car...
Yeah?
When she crashed the car, you didn't act like anyone that was drunk or drugged or anything. You coolly took off your seatbelt, picked up your rucksack, opened the car door and ran.
Yeah?
And ran away. No, you sprinted. You described as sprinting.
I was sprinting,
In fact, 2 men tried to chase you and you outstripped them.
So I can run, right?
What, after 6 pints and as many tubes of Evo stick?
Yeah, well, maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe that's why I can't remember.
What, like amnesia?
Yeah, all right, amnesia. I don't know, I don't remember.
I think you do remember. I think you remember very well. I think you know exactly what happened.
No, I remember grabbing a bag and that and...
Snow admitted to raping all 3 women, also to injuring Karen. What he wouldn't admit to was attempting to murder her. Police had to decide whether or not to charge him with the lesser offence of unlawful wounding.
The decision on which charge to go for is crucial, because if you decide to go for the attempted murder and he's found not guilty, it's as though the offence didn't happen.
But you've charged him. Attempted murder, you said. That's a charge.
It's easier to prove murder than attempted murder. With murder, the prosecution had to show that the defendant killed her. With attempted murder, the prosecution had to prove that he intended to kill her.
But he left her. She nearly died.
You and I know that, but it's what the jury believe that matters.
Are you saying the jury won't believe Karen?
They might not. They will try to discredit
Call her a liar, you mean?
If you like, yes. We could have gone for a less serious offence. The alternative would have been unlawful wounding.
No. Unlawful wounding, it. Sounds like he knocked me over or something. He had his hands tight round my neck. He was strangling me. I couldn't breathe. I've got 4 stab wounds. I thought I was dying. How much proof do you need?
Tony was charged with attempted murder, but whilst he was waiting for trial, I went to see him. I wanted to know a bit more about him. Hi, Tony, how are you then?
Oh, me, I'm just great, you know. There's that wall and that wall and that wall. Anyway, I thought we'd finish. You charged me, haven't you? I'm just, waiting for more permanent accommodation.
Well, people don't go out and rape just because they've had too much to drink or they've been sniffing glue. There's more to it than that, isn't there? It's only when you spend time with people, including offenders, that you learn something about why they commit these sorts of crimes. And I think it's something we don't do enough of, really.
Kids in school used to say, like, doesn't your mum mind you smoking? And I just ignored them. I just said, what mum? She put me in a home. Not a home, just a building with walls and rules and people who do shifts. Care, they call it. He's in care. And then they opened the doors. I was 18, free, but I wasn't. No, inside you got structure, order, I could handle that, but outside you learn, right, you learn, number one, I matter. I survive if I beg for it, steal it, sniff it, inject it, whatever, you know, go out and get it, because nobody gives a shit.
You were better off inside, then?
Yeah. Yeah, I was. Same game, you learn who's in charge. First postal, I got jumped by a section bloke. One of the men now, he said.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
Yeah. It's a bugger, isn't it?
I wonder whether he wouldn't have raped if he'd had more help to work through his emotional problems.
I don't find you can use those as an excuse for what he did to certainly the victims in Luton, what he did to Karen, and what he did to Fiona. No matter what's happened to you in your childhood or in your teens, doesn't give you the right to do what he's done to these two girls. He's nearly killed one girl, and he's raped and defiled another one.
Here she comes now.
The trial was months after, and I'd been trying to prepare myself. But I don't think anyone can really be prepared for the moment when you walk into a packed courtroom and there's just so many people looking at you, like they're judging you.
Take the Bible in your right hand and read the words on the card.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And I remember after reading the oath, he just looked at me and smiled. It was horrible.
Once the case comes to trial, it may be thought by some people that the role of the police is over. The police role has only really just begun, because we have to liaise with the prosecuting barrister and support the victim.
I felt that I had to be in court just for my own peace of mind. The police said, we've got him, it's definitely him. But I'd never actually seen him since the attack, and without actually seeing him for myself, I'd never have been truly convinced that it was the same person.
What noises, in fact, could you hear?
Knowing the trial would be an ordeal, Karen had nevertheless insisted police pursue the charge of attempted murder. As the law dictates, the jury was kept unaware of the fact that Snow had pleaded guilty to raping Fiona and Sarah.
Like it was shining in from the bathroom. I'd met Tony about 2 or 3 times before, but I didn't really know him. My mum knew him a bit, but, well, they weren't close or anything. She just got to know him a bit. When they got back from the pub, they put some music on and my mum opened some wine. They were quite merry, but not, like, drunk or anything.
Did you have anything alcoholic to drink?
No, I just carried on talking to Tony for a bit. I could see my mum was falling asleep. It was the early hours of the morning and I was getting really tired, but I didn't want to say, you know, oh, I'm going to bed now, when Tony was still awake.
Karen, can you now tell the court exactly what you can remember of the events which followed?
I got into bed, and after a few minutes I heard someone coming upstairs. It was Tony. I saw him as he passed the bedroom door. He went into the toilet first and then he came into my room. He just stood staring over me, but I had my eyes shut. I was pretending to be asleep.
And how did you feel at this stage, Karen?
Scared. I was scared.
A lot of rape victims actually feel they are raped again when they give their evidence in court. They're basically telling the whole story, and of course they're cross-examined on their evidence, and it is an ordeal, and it's something perhaps they shouldn't have to go through.
I know that now we are looking at children giving evidence in court and how they can give their evidence so they don't have to go into court, and we're actually doing video links. Now, whether that will ever come about with rape victims, I'm not sure.
You said you were screaming for your mum. Where, in fact, did you go?
I ran downstairs to the living room. And I was trying to wake my mum up. But I couldn't. I just couldn't wake her.
And what did you do when he had his hands round your throat?
I remember kicking my legs about.
And what sensations did you feel as he was doing this to you?
I was getting really weak and I started feeling hot. And then I lost my vision. And I felt like I was floating on top of some clouds. I could see houses, rows of houses and the sea. It's really weird. And then I could see my mum sitting in the chair, and I was calling out for her. Then I opened my eyes and I was upstairs in my mum's bed. Tony was on top of me.
Miss Woods, I'm going to suggest to you that you have a number of things wrong in the account that you've given of the events of that night. Do you understand? I'm not suggesting that you're lying or anything like that, but I am suggesting to you, and I will be suggesting to you, that you have not given us a completely accurate account of that night. Would you accept that what happened to you that night and what happened to you afterwards in the hospital may have affected your memory?
No, I wouldn't say that. It hasn't affected my memory, no.
You would not say that? That things may have become jumbled up in your mind? Would you accept that?
Well, a bit maybe. Yeah. I wish people could know how hard it is to stand in that box and listen to the way they make things sound different, like you've got it wrong. You just want to tell the jury how it was. Sometimes I just wanted to shout out, no, it wasn't like that, but you can't. I had my hands up, but I wasn't actually punching him, because he had a knife in his hand.
You were trying to hit him? I'm not saying you should not have been trying to hit him, but I'm just putting that to you. You were trying to hit him. And there was a struggle, which I suggest ended up with you falling to the ground.
Yeah.
And further, I suggest to you that the wound, your stomach wound, must have been received by you during that struggle.
Yeah.
You accept that? Although it was not until much later that you realized you had a wound. And indeed, dealing with that, the wound was not bleeding very much, was it, when you were back upstairs?
No, there wasn't much blood.
I again have to challenge your account of what happened after you'd fallen to the ground. I'm suggesting there was no attempt to strangle you or put his arms round your neck at that time.
No, that's not right.
What I suggest is that hands were put round your neck, but had been put round earlier when you were on your bed, and you were confusing the two.
No. When I was in bed, he did put his hands around my throat. He was putting pressure on me, but not enough to stop me breathing. But downstairs he was. I couldn't breathe. I did stop breathing.
I suggest that he was making it clear to you that the reason he was holding your throat was to stop you screaming. That was what he was trying to prevent. Isn't that right, Karen?
No. He was trying to strangle me.
You go downstairs, and what happens when you come into the room? Take this slowly so that everyone can hear what you're saying.
I don't know. I ran down after her and she was shouting and screaming and I just lashed out like it all happened like as quick as that. Can't remember whether I punched her or not. I remember lashing out with a knife, but at the time I'd done it, I wasn't thinking like, oh, I'll stab her, you know, I'll hurt her. It was just like, I don't know, an action, not a thought and then an action. It just happened.
We now know that during that struggle, the knife did enter Karen's stomach.
Yeah.
Did you intend to do that?
No. I never intended to hurt her. I never intended to like stab her or hurt her or kill her or anything. My intention was just to have sex with her.
Tony, Did you ever intend to kill her?
No. No, I didn't.
Thank you.
Members of the jury, have you reached a verdict upon which at least 10 of you are agreed?
No.
If you retire again, is there any chance it would enable you to bring in a verdict?
No.
What the police had feared had happened. The case was dismissed.
I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe that after all they'd heard about him strangling me, about the rape. I was just amazed that they couldn't decide. People were going mad about the decision, but I just felt like I was a liar. Like they were saying, we don't believe you. I think that's what hurt the most.
Well, I felt terrible, and I could have said some things about the justice system or the judge, which I'd regretted, but that is the justice system we have, and I had great sympathy for the jury as well, because they weren't aware of the other charges that Snow was facing. It was like a sort of blow to the stomach, and it did affect me quite badly.
The thing about Tony is he is a very affable, presentable suspect. And the members of the jury at the trial may have confused them, because he wouldn't have been who you would imagine a rapist and someone who committed an attempt murder would be.
Before the court rose, Snow was sentenced for the rape offences. The judge gave him life, but with the recommendation that he be considered for parole after 10 years.
Dear Sarah, I'm really not sure what to say in this letter, but I'll try my best if I can to bring you some peace of mind after what I did to you. I know it's easy to say I'm sorry, but please understand, or try to understand, that I mean I'm sorry for the things I did to you. I know that an apology could never be enough to take the pain and anguish from inside of you away, and I'm not trying to justify my own self in any way. I just feel that this is probably the best I can do to help you through the trauma you've been going through. I would try and explain why I did what I did, but I can't give any reason because I don't know why. I could blame it on drugs and drink, but I don't think it's fair to use them as an excuse. I really can't blame you if you think I'm a monster or evil or crazy, because I'd probably feel the same way if that was to happen to me.
I was very angry that he wrote the letter, because I think he was trying to make excuses for what he'd done. I don't think there are any excuses for what he's done.
I don't want to shock you or worry you, but I know you must have been worried sick over AIDS. Well, I'd like to say I don't have HIV or AIDS or any other STD.
Well, we have the results of all your tests, and I'm pleased to tell you that you are negative.
I know it definitely won't be easy for you to forget. You probably won't. But for your own sake, try to get it out of your system.